Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Don, thank you. Believe it or not, we just celebrated our 5th anniversary here at Maryland Live. And, you know, as they say, the fun has just begun. First of all, I'd like to say that in creating a facility like this, it took tremendous cooperation between not only our company, but the public sector, our elected officials, many of who are here today, the community. We have community leaders here today from the local residents, the police, chambers of commerce. So it really took a tremendous effort by all to create a facility like this and to keep it running. And last but not least, the over 3,000 team members that we employ here at Live Casino, who every day are here showing our customers a good time and are very immersed in the community. They live here in the community and give both of their time and their efforts in giving back to the community. So I'd just like to start by thanking everybody who's here and giving you all a round of applause for everything you've done. So let me tell you about what's happened over the last 5 years here at Live Casino. Last year, this facility was the second highest grossing commercial casino in the United States. We are the #1 taxpayer in the state of Maryland and one of the largest taxpayers in the entire United States. And that's something we're very proud of. Over the last 5 years, we have paid about $1.4 billion in gaming taxes to the state. Just a little under $1 million a day from this facility goes back to the state. $1.1 billion has gone to the Education Trust Fund here in Maryland. And back to the local community, just over $111 million have gone to the community in local impact grants. And these monies are being used for things like enhancements to our schools, to supporting the police and the fire departments, to giving back to many of the social services organizations here in Anne Arundel County, from food banks to health clinics to the local hotels. We've also paid about $1 billion in wages, salaries and wages over the past 5 years. So employing over 3,000 people, putting money back into the community, creating an economic engine that exponentially increases activity here in Anne Arundel County. We've also taken a lead and something that we feel very strongly about in creating opportunities for local minority women and veteran-owned businesses here in Anne Arundel County and in Maryland. And it just so happens today we have a minority outreach networking event here today. And we do events like this throughout the year, and since we've opened, to not only create opportunities in construction and operations here at Live Casino, but also bringing companies together in the state so they can network together and create relationships that will help them obtain businesses throughout the state. In fact, this facility was built by a minority-owned general contracting firm, and it was the first large-scale casino in the United States built by a minority contractor. So something that we've taken very seriously and feel very strongly about. We've also been very involved in our local community from a philanthropic standpoint, not only giving of our money and facilities, but also the time of our 3,000 team members here, being involved in all kinds of charities, from Toys for Tots to the USO to cancer research, to supporting our local hospitals and schools. So we have taken that leadership in the philanthropic community, and it's something, again, that's been very important to us. And we're going to continue to reinvest in the community. As many of you know, you can see here on the site, we're under construction on a new $200 million hotel. It's a project that's going to be a great enhancement not only to Live Casino, but to the community. It will have over 300 rooms and suites. It'll have a large convention facility. We're hoping to be able to accommodate all of our local schools and colleges to be able to accommodate graduations that, as of now, have to go outside of the county to hold these important events, new restaurants and music venue. So we're very excited about the new hotel that will open the first part of next year, and as part of our commitment of continuing to reinvest in this facility and to maintain it as the premier gaming and entertainment facility, not only here in the state of Maryland, but also nationally as well. And for it to continue to be an economic engine for Anne Arundel County and for the state. And we hope to maintain our status. You don't hear many businesses say this, but we hope to maintain our status as one of the largest taxpayers in the state of Maryland and the country. So with that, again, thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce Rob Norton, who's our president of global gaming for the Cordish Company. Rob is not only a great leader here for us at Live Casino and for the Cordish Company, but also recognized throughout the industry as a leader in the gaming and hospitality industry. So we're lucky to have him here as part of our team. And Rob, take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you again for joining us this morning for what I think is going to be a wonderful event. I also want to thank the AGA for inviting us to host this event. We've been working with them for a year to try to put this together, and I'm excited that we were able to make it happen. We have an excellent group of attendees and panelists here with us today, made up of experts from the gaming industry, community leaders, elected officials, nonprofit organizations, business and tourism associations, and the press. And again, thank you all for being here. To help start this event off, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for our panel discussion today, Mr. Don Frye. Don is the president and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee. This is the leading business advocacy organization for the Greater Baltimore area. The Greater Baltimore Committee, or the GBC, represents more than 500 companies, nonprofits, foundations, and leading educational and civic institutions. As the leader of the GBC, Don has an important role in the matters of public policy, business issues, and promoting jobs and economic growth in this area. Because of this, Don can be considered an expert in most of the discussions that we're going to have today as part of this panel. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Don Frye to the stage.
Thank you, Joe and Rob, for your welcoming comments and providing this outstanding venue for today's program. Good morning to all of you that are in attendance. We're excited to be here this morning at the Live Casino and Hotel. Thank you for joining, and I expect we're going to have a very engaging and enlightening conversation. This event is organized by the American Gaming Association. It's the third stop on its American Gaming Small Business Jobs Tour, part of the association's Get to Know Gaming campaign. The campaign's mission is to tell the story of the gaming industry across the country. We're glad that they have chosen to come to Maryland, and special thanks to Jeff Freeman, who's President and CEO of the American Gaming Association, who you'll hear from Jeff shortly. It's important to know and understand the significant impact and the presence of gaming has had and will continue to have across the state and throughout the country. I've been fortunate to see sort of the industry grow since its inception. Almost 10 years ago, I was appointed chair of the Video Lottery Facilities Location Commission. That was a commission that was evaluating and selecting the location and the operators of the gaming operations in this state. Economic impact was one of the factors that we were asked to consider by the legislature in each of those proposals. Additionally, as the President and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee, I've seen that positive impact that the industry's had firsthand in Maryland. It's hard to believe that just 7 years ago, the first of Maryland's 6 casinos opened. And during that time, gaming has proven to be that catalyst for economic development, employer for thousands of residents in Maryland, and as we've heard, a major source of tax revenues for the state. Economic impact and jobs, along with minority outreach fair that's taking place, is the focus of today's conversation, and we're thrilled to have these business and gaming leaders as part of the panel. In just a bit, this group will shed some light on what the industry means for Maryland, especially as it deals with development and economic impact. And we'll also want to talk about how the Maryland gaming industry can continue to thrive in the years ahead. A major part of AGA's work is to shape the perception of the industry, because public policy, as those in the room that are elected officials know, that oftentimes public policy and perception are directly related. To help us facilitate the conversation, there is a great panel of experts with us today. You've already briefly been introduced to Cordish Global Gaming President Rob Norton. Rob leads the acquisition, planning, development, and management operations of the Cordish Company's worldwide gaming projects, including this outstanding facility. Under his leadership, Live Casino and Hotel has consistently ranked as one of the highest grossing casinos in the Mid-Atlantic region. To his right on the panel, we also have from the Cordish Company, Ashley Pointer. She's the Director of Finance for Live Casino and Hotel. She started here on day one as an employee, and she's been with Live for the past 5 years, where she served as a revenue audit manager before recently being promoted to her current position. In that new role, she's responsible for implementing and enforcing all internal and external policies and procedures for financial operations, including insurance compliance of local, state, and federal regulatory protocols. To my immediate left is a veteran public servant, State Senator Ed DeGrange, who represents District 32 in Anne Arundel County. As senator, he serves on the Budget and Taxation Committee, where he also chairs the Senate Capital Budget Subcommittee. Senator DeGrange is a member of the Anne Arundel County Local Development Council. He's been on the board of directors for the Glen Burnie Mutual Savings Bank, serves his community in many fashions, including being an active member of the Holy Trinity Church, the Knights of Columbus, and the Rotary Club of Glen Burnie. To his left, we have Erin McNaboe, Visit Annapolis and Anne Arundel County chairperson. She has more than 15 years experience as a visionary leader and strategic thinker, affecting change and achieving outstanding results. She's a business development and marketing professional with a history of innate leadership in the restaurant, entertainment, nonprofit, and retail industries. Seated to her left is Tony Hill. Tony is the managing partner of Edwards & Hill Commercial Furniture. Many of you have known Tony for many years. He oversees the client projects day to day in that capacity, and on behalf of Edwards & Hill, he has been involved in restructuring, implementing, and facilitating the employee orientation and retention program for the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority. He has spent much of his career, nearly 2 decades in radio and more than a decade in television. He's also been a motivational speaker and arbitrator for area public schools and private companies. And also to my far right, we have Lynn Hopkins, who's the incoming president for the Assistance League of the Chesapeake. Her experience has been honed by a career that spans 2 continents and includes positions with companies and organizations in both financial services and educational sectors. Most recently, she's worked with a variety of corporate CEOs, presidents, and top executives in the Washington, D.C. area. And finally, to my immediate right, we have Jeff Freeman, who's the president and CEO of American Gaming Association, the premier national trade group representing $240 billion U.S. casino industry. The American Gaming Association members include commercial and tribal casino operators, suppliers, and other entities affiliated with the gaming industry. It's the mission of the AGA to be the single most effective champion of the industry, relentlessly protecting against harmful and often misinformed policies and paving a way and pathway for growth, innovation, and reinvestment. Please join me in welcoming this outstanding panel of experts that we have before us today. Before I have a chance to ask those experts a number of questions, it's my pleasure to turn the podium over to Jeff Freeman, who will give a few brief comments before we begin in that roundtable discussion. Jeff?
Thank you, Don. This is indeed an outstanding venue, and I'm thrilled to be here. It is in desperate need of a podium for short people. So if you can work on that, I'd appreciate it. It's an honor to come to this facility. As Don mentioned, we represent the totality of the gaming industry. Everybody from the Las Vegas Strip to the Gulf Coast to Atlantic City and everywhere else in this great country, tribal and commercial alike, right here to Maryland. $240 billion, 1.7 million jobs across the country, $40 billion in tax revenue at the local, state, and federal level. This industry is a big-time player. We love talking about the macro numbers of what this industry is doing, but we love nothing more than coming into properties like this. This is the absolute best thing we can do. Get out in the local communities and highlight what this industry is all about. Because in every community in which our industry is operating, we're proving to be a strong community partner. We're proving to be a job creator. We're supporting local and critical organizations. We're being a prominent and important participant to that state, to that community, and we're proud of those contributions. We're proud of what's being done right here in Maryland. You know, our industry of those 1.7 million jobs, 350,000 of those jobs are small business jobs. And 3,000 of those small business jobs are right here in Maryland. And those small business jobs are made possible by Maryland Live and the 5 other properties across this state. Those jobs are made possible by the $1.4 billion that Joe highlighted that this property alone has provided the state of Maryland in tax revenue. This industry is here to be a contributor today, but it's here for many years to come. The state has found that they can rely on this industry. Small businesses have found that they can rely on this industry. Those seeking jobs have found that they can rely on this industry. We're proud of what we've done today. We look forward to being a proud and important partner for years to come. To do that, and I just want to make a point about what's important looking forward, to do that in the future, it's important that we all recognize that we can't rest on our laurels. And I know that there are legislators in the room, we have regulators in the room, we have other important partners in this room. One thing I would encourage all of us to understand is that this industry has to continually evolve. What works for today's customer probably won't be what works for tomorrow's customer. We've got to be able to innovate. We've got to be able to reinvest, as this property is doing with the hotel and other facilities. We have to constantly change as an industry. That means we need tax policy that encourages that. We need regulatory policy that embraces that. That means we need to get the federal government out of the way when it comes to allowing Maryland and other states to allow sports betting, something that people across this state want to do and that we know would add another 3,000 jobs right here in Maryland. We need those progressive policies, and we appreciate your partnership in making sure that we can get those in the years ahead. Maryland Live, our entire industry, is committed to this state, and we look forward to a proud partnership for many years to come. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you very much, and thanks to the American Gaming Association for taking the time and effort to do tours like this and to educate people about the economic impact and the role that it's playing in our community. Let's start off the panel discussion by go to Ashley right off the bat. Ashley, you've been here since day one. Talk to us a little bit about what it's like working here, what impact you've seen for yourself, but also your fellow employees.
So 5 years ago, I packed my car up to take a 16-hour drive to Hanover, Maryland, which I had never even heard of Hanover, Maryland. And during that 16-hour drive, talked myself out of coming here a number of times, but I continued driving, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what would happen. But these last 5 years has been one of the most challenging and amazing experiences in my casino career. I've been to other properties that were open, that were established, to not only play a part here in the growth of this property. It's been very rewarding, from opening with an incomplete slot floor to prime rib to table games, poker, Look Food, Morty's, Live Lost, In Vivo, and now Live Hotel. You can't ask for any more when coming somewhere where you have no idea what's going to happen. So we've not only learned a lot about this company, but we've learned a lot about ourselves and what we're capable of doing.
And congratulations, you've recently evolved yourself in your career path as well, so it's great for you. Rob, we hear a lot about partnerships and the relationships with the community and others. Describe some of those partnerships and relationships that the casino has built with the organizations within the community, and also talk a bit about how diversity, you mentioned that, of course, how that's contributed to your investment in the Maryland area.
Sure. So let's start with the general position from Maryland Live and the Cordish Company's standpoint. When we came into Hanover and we put together this incredible facility, it was part of our commitment before we put the first shovel in the ground that we were going to do things in a very, very positive way, which means we were going to engage the community, we were going to engage the minority and woman-owned businesses, and we were going to be a leader in community involvement. We were going to be a true community partner. I think one of the best examples of that partnership actually is going on today and is kind of the background for why we're here today, which is our partnership with the MWMCA. We partnered with Wayne and Pat well before the casino opened so that we could reach our extraordinary goals of woman and minority-owned business participation in the original build of this facility, which was over $100 million of our total construction costs that went to those businesses. We could not have done that without that partnership with Wayne and Pat and the MWMCA. That partnership has continued since we've been open by holding these types of vendor fairs and just being a great source for us when we have new business opportunities to reach out and try to find and attract new businesses within the local community and give them a shot at that. And one of the things I'm proud of, we've spent over $100 million on the initial construction. We've also spent about $100 million since we've opened with local minority and women-owned businesses in ongoing operations and on some of those capital projects that Ashley had mentioned. So we not only did it on the initial startup, but we've continued that commitment through there. And then when you talk about partnerships, there's a handful of other examples that I think are important to throw out there because, first of all, they're here and I appreciate them being here. Groups like the Arundel Community College, we developed that partnership well before we opened up this facility, and their partnership and our partnership with the Workforce Development Group, getting qualified, trained employees to be here and to contribute to the experience that makes us different and makes us successful is probably one of the most important things that we do, and we couldn't do that without those types of partnerships, and we appreciate that relationship and the extent that we've had and how long it's existed with groups like the community college. And then we have to talk a little bit about our partnerships within the nonprofit world, because as we said before, our commitment to the community goes beyond these walls. We live here. Our children are in the schools here. We are part of the communities all around us, not just Anne Arundel County, but many of us do live in Anne Arundel County. And so we have made a concerted effort in investing time, money, and resources to so many of the local charitable organizations. And just to name a couple of them that are some of our larger groups, Susan G. Komen and their fight against breast cancer, Casey Cares Foundation, which supports countless numbers of local organizations, the USO, the SPCA of Anne Arundel County, the American Red Cross, Capital Pride, Opportunity Builders, the Blue Angels Foundation, Capital Area Food Bank, Anne Arundel County Food Bank, and there are so many more. I could go on and list them for nearly an hour. I think it gives you a sense of how we approach our day-to-day business and our responsibilities with the community.
Right. Senator Grange, you've had a unique perspective in the fact that you obviously saw the legislation go into effect and the challenges there, but also you're a resident and public servant in this region, so you've had a front row seat of that relationship building that's occurred. Could you talk a little bit about what the gaming industry has brought to the region and to the county in particular in the past several years?
Sure, thanks. First, I want to recognize my colleague from Howard County, Delegate Frank Turner, who's here with us. I allowed him into my district, and thank you for being here. You know, this, actually, I go back to the original legislation back in 2003 that was brought before the General Assembly and before the Budget Tax Committee. And that kept evolving until finally, I think it was 2007 when the legislation was actually enacted by the General Assembly and passed. You know, the impact, that was all unknown, but in my support for it, I looked at $400 million leaving the state of Maryland every year and going elsewhere, leaving the state. And it certainly was not benefiting our citizens, but, or education or anything else. So the horse racing industry being stagnant, if you would, in the state of Maryland, that was one of the major initiatives to support and to continue and help grow the purses and the breeding and the tracks and so forth, but also the Education Trust Fund. Now, we probably are one of the few states that have not reduced education funding, but have increased it annually because of the gaming industry that has come in with a lot of restrictions, if you will. And one of the things that I think was very important when we were having this $400 million leave the state, we were also having the gaming addiction that some residents had coming back with no funding to address that. So in the legislation, that was very important, I think, to many of us, that there was money in there for gaming addiction, because people were going to deal with things that we are dealing with that in the state, in our budget, coming from the gaming industry. And what else has it done? Look at this area here. And I want to thank everybody for coming to District 32, which is the most economic engine of the state and the county. But with the Arundel Mills Mall in this entire area, this was vacant land, nothing here. The mall came in. And with the casino coming in here and the growth, the jobs that they've created, and working in partnership with the mall, and now with the hotel, this has been a tremendous impact to the state as well as the local government in maintaining jobs and the area actually growing. If you look here, why would we have some of the highest rents on apartments in the county right here in this neighborhood? Some of the housing industry, many had said, well, it's going to destroy the values, but no, they've been increasing. So we've gotten a tremendous amount of benefit and tax revenue coming in here because of this facility working in conjunction with everyone else. And BWI Airport, easy come, easy go airport. I see the future just continuing to grow as the gaming industry must change, and will have to be dealt with the legislature on many fronts if the federal government, Congress acts on legislation for sports betting, for example. That's something the legislature should be out in front on and be prepared for, because we got to keep changing with the future.
Okay. Aaron, as the chairperson of the Visit Annapolis and Arundel County, you obviously have seen changes and obviously a lot in the hospitality tourism. Talk about some of the biggest contributions that the gaming industry has made and how you've seen them engage some of the local communities and some of the efforts that you're involved with in hospitality and tourism.
Thank you. Well, certainly jobs is one of the leading aspects that we've been talking about, the 3,000 team members, and out of that comes training, and any attention that we can give to the hospitality and tourism industry is wonderful. Out of that, the casino dealer school has come from Anne Arundel Community College. And, you know, depending on how long people stay in the gaming industry, at the end of the day, they're learning customer service. And when they walk out the door, they will give that customer service anywhere that they go. And that's great for the tourism industry, because we want anyone who comes to the state of Maryland, and certainly to Anne Arundel County, to have a great experience. And those are those frontline people who are here dealing with the visitors to the casinos every day. They're the ones that make that happen. Out of that and the gaming industry, we've been able to brand and look further. As tourism evolves and people are looking for different things to do, we want to be able to answer any time that yes, we do have gaming. Yes, we have water attractions. Yes, you can come and do a one-stop shop here. You can come to this facility. You can eat. You can play. You can stay. There are over 200 shops right next door to the casino. You've got a wonderful synergy going on between the locations, which is fabulous for the tourism industry. And definitely as food has become part of pop culture, being able to say that we have the #1 Zagat rated steakhouse, the prime rib here in the county, is a great thing, and the evolving restaurants that are here. We have developed a blog site called Foodie Annapolis, and it talks all about what's happening in Anne Arundel County, and people are really following that. They want to know where the great places are to eat, and so many of them are happening here at the casino. Furthermore, we're able to develop greater websites. We're able to roll out hotels@bwi.com. And through that, we're able to package with other locations here. We're able to package with the hotels and transportation and have people staying here longer, which is always our end goal. And of course, the relationship to BWI Airport, you can't beat that. It's so easy for people to come in and stay longer. Some of the other packages that have come out of that, of course, are girlfriend getaways, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties. There's a number of ways that you can spin the gaming industry for tourism and visitors. So it's been excellent. Maryland Live Casino has also helped to sponsor a number of groups that were coming to the area. And certainly one of the biggest ones for Anne Arundel County has been the Military Bowl. And Maryland Life Casino was great in helping to attract them to the area and be spending time in the area in what might otherwise be a quiet time in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So we appreciate all the way that they've worked with the other organizations, with helping us to attract new business, and certainly with welcoming with great customer service.
Lynn, talk to us a little bit from an educational and charitable perspective about the gaming industry's impact on educational or charitable involvement in the community, and maybe even the process or how it's come about and how easily or how challenging it is to see those efforts take place.
Well, I'm part of Assistance League of the Chesapeake. We're a smallish chapter of 79 ladies who, there are 144 chapters like ours around the country, all doing similar work. Maryland Live has been such a valuable part of what we do. There are 1,000 homeless children in Anne Arundel County. 592 of them are in elementary school. When we look at the news sometimes and see children in different parts of the country or the world going through hardship, I know that every single one of us just wishes we could do something or someone could do something. Well, we're privileged to be able to do something with the help of Maryland Live and our other partners and sponsors. And we have provided 520 school uniforms for homeless children in the 2 Title I elementary schools we work with in the area around the casino that qualifies for the use of the grant we have received. We've also provided 592 books to those 2 schools, and the schools are Van Bokkelen and Mead Heights Elementary. And before receiving we've received this $16,000 grant for 2 years in a row. We are waiting with bated breath to see if we're getting it for the 3rd year, after which time we have to step back, I believe, according to the policy. But before receiving that grant, we were only able to meet 42% of the need of these children who are homeless, who live in maybe on the street or in motels or in their parents' vehicles, come to school in clothes that just are totally uncomfortable for them emotionally. And the guidance counselors are desperate because they can see this impacting the children's self-image and self-confidence. We were able to only meet 42% of that need previously in those schools, and we've now been able to meet the percentage in the 90s since getting the Maryland Live grant. There are other schools that have been asking for our help that we want to work with, and so that's what we'll do going forward. But we've just been so grateful for the help that we've had from Maryland Live in that regard.
Tony, let me turn to you for a second. As a business leader, a prominent business leader in the community, what impact have you seen from a business perspective on the economy and also particularly small businesses and how small businesses have benefited from the emergence of the casino in this region?
I'll tell you, Don, that specifically for us, we installed furniture here at the back of house when Live opened. And at the time, I think we had 7 employees. Now we're up to 22. And having this as part of our story, this particular job, it's allowed us to garner more business specifically in the hospitality industry and in gaming. So Maryland Live in many ways gave us our entree into that. And then of course there's the residual effect. Everybody's pretty much mentioned, whether you're talking about civic in the community, whether you're talking about additional businesses that are spawned because of it, and the reciprocal business that happens back and forth. So for my company, for many colleagues of mine, for lots of people that are at the opportunity fair, it's huge.
And Jeff, I think you've heard from Tony's story, AGA's decided to focus on small businesses. Talk a little bit about why AGA chose to focus on small businesses. Also talk a bit about why you came here today in Maryland and maybe how Maryland ranks against other states concerning the benefit or the small business impact compared to other jurisdictions.
You know, we learned early on in doing these events around the country that the best thing I could do was simply shut up while I'm up here and let people like Tony and Lynn and Ashley, Aaron share their stories about what this industry is doing. Because the amazing part about this industry is that there are nearly 1,000 casinos in the United States. Hard for some people to believe. And that means 1,000 communities where there are passionate advocates about what this industry is doing. Every industry has its strengths and weaknesses, but going back to the word that Rob used earlier, if there's one hallmark of this industry, it's partnership. It's partnership with the community, it's partnership with small businesses, it's partnership with each and every entity that is a stakeholder that we need to work with. And giving those stakeholders a voice is so critical. There's no doubt that our industry, as our industry comes into various communities, there are perceptions and often misperceptions of what the industry is, what the results will be. We want to shine a light on what the industry is actually doing. The best thing you have, right, is the truth and the facts working for you. That's what the casino gaming industry has, and that's what Tony and others up here are able to bring light to. So it's so important to us to simply work with our partners like Rob here at Maryland Live to create the venue to get that story out. The Maryland story, I'd love to tell you the Maryland story is unique. The truth is, the Maryland story is a lot like the Ohio story, and it's a lot like the Indiana story, and it's a lot like the Nevada story, the Mississippi story, and beyond. Where our industry is doing business, we're doing it quite well. In fact, the only place where our industry today is facing those misperceptions of who we are is in the markets in which we don't operate. In the markets in which we operate, we've proven to be a strong community partner, and we've proven that we are dedicated to those communities for the long haul. We're proud of that, and today's really about shining a light on that.
Yeah. Aaron, a lot of the work that you do in hospitality tourism deals with small businesses, and you talked about a lot of the new programs, the foodie website and things of that nature, but what impact have you seen specifically on small businesses in the hospitality tourism industry, and how grateful are they for this sort of an operation?
I think, a lot of small businesses, they're obviously taxpayers. And the tourism industry as a whole saves the taxpayer about over $1,000 a year through the industry. And that obviously makes a big difference to every family. Certainly having the #1 attraction in Maryland right here in our backyard develops relationships such as Tony's and bringing in the furniture company, and actually a former employer of ours is here today, Humdinger Productions. They're another minority-owned small business here, and the casino does a lot of work with them setting up an event like today. So I can speak firsthand from what I have seen, and certainly even from Ram's Head. I was with Ram's Head for 15 years, and we were a part of the casino here from the very beginning. We did the booking for Center Stage and helped them to launch that entertainment aspect here. And certainly from a small business, we have appreciated that relationship and that learning of the casino industry and the gaming industry and how we can best serve that. And they have learned from us, so it's a two-way street in that regard.
Jeff, you just recently commented that Maryland is not unlike Ohio with respect to small business impact. But how is the gaming industry in Anne Arundel County or in the state of Maryland in general different from other parts of the country, and how is it similar in many ways?
I was talking with Don earlier, who was a part of the Location Commission here in Maryland, and speaking with Gordon as well about this. You know, one thing that Maryland has that I think does make it unique is the level of thoughtfulness that went into where these properties are located, how they're located, how they interact with the community. You have a very urban casino in Baltimore. You have a different type of destination with Rocky Gap and with National Harbor. You have a different type of experience here with Maryland Live. Each of these have a unique story. There's distance between them. There's a way to benefit the state of Maryland that I think was very thoughtful. I think is a model for other states, and I think a good story for Maryland to tell. I think this state is well on the road to maximizing the potential that the casino gaming industry can bring, and I know that that's something that other states are looking at. Of course, when you roll this thing called casino gaming out, you'll get lots of advice on what to do, but no one knows exactly the right way to do it. Maryland might just be the model as exactly the right way to do that, and I think that makes this area unique.
Senator, I'm going to turn to you for a second. We've talked a lot about what impact the current casino has had and gaming industry has had currently. As someone who keeps his finger on the pulse looking at the state's revenues and looking at economic development in the state of Maryland, what role do you see for gaming in the future, not only in the Baltimore-Washington corridor, but also when you look at the economic opportunities in the state of Maryland, what role does gaming have as an economic engine?
Well, I think particularly in this area, which I'm most familiar with, the amount of traffic that comes here in this area, it started about 14 million people when the mall opened. It's a destination. Now it's up to somewhere close to 20 million people that visit this area on an annual basis, and because of the casino, and I see that it could continue to grow as they work with industries coming in from the airport, as that growth continues there. This area in particular, in the state of Maryland, all the way to DC market, is going to continue to grow. And as they partner and continue to evolve, if you will, the gaming industry is going to change like any other business changes. The renovations that are going to be ongoing facilities creates new interests, new ventures, if we will, and new clients. And with the hotel bringing visitors in from other parts of the country and the world as well, I just see whether it's small businesses or communities continue to sprout up and prosper in this area and across the state.
Tony, from your perspective, how do you see economic growth for the state of Maryland? You travel all different parts of the state, you go to other jurisdictions. So how do you see the role, and how does gaming continue to be a major player in that perspective?
Yeah, for me, Don, I think what it is the longevity of the relationships. There are lots of clients where you have some work and then you have to move on. But as Rob was saying earlier, they continue to make sure that they are good partners, inclusive. So it helps small businesses like mine to create a pipeline of business, which is what we need to be able to grow. It's not, just business when Live first opened. We've consistently done business with them until today, and we're working with them with Live Lofts across the street, and we hope to work with them on the new hotel as well. So again, having a pipeline of business, having a partner that's invested in the community for the long haul, I think that's how it's going to have its biggest impact. And as Senator DeGrange was saying, there's so many things that are going to continue to grow. I mean, somebody being able to get off the plane at BWI, and what hotel do I stay at? Where do I stay? You can choose anywhere, but if you can stay at the hotel here and also have all of this entertainment, gaming, shopping. It's just a great opportunity, and one thing that Live is very good about is marketing and figuring out how to get it done. And so I think that's what's going to really impact the market overall.
Ashley, if I'm going to ask you a question, you've been here now since it opened. You've been and have 16 years of experience, I guess, in the industry, 5 here. Talk a little bit about, as you've heard people say that the future looks bright for the industry, talk about what that means from an employee perspective, from benefits, opportunities, things like that, and how you see that moving forward.
So I actually started as a valet attendant my senior year in high school. I knew I was going to college to major in finance. However, I didn't know where that would take me. I started off with an idea that I would be a real estate agent, and that didn't happen. So I continued working for the casino. One thing that I can say that has truly helped me is I have had leaders that have really and truly invested in me. So the best thing that I could do was return those favors. Those managers, those leaders, I can still pick up the phone today and call them. I have made sacrifices to change my schedule. I've worked in valet, security, cage and credit, revenue audit, shadowed and drop and count, and now in finance. You can never have the mindset that it's not my job. It may not be your job today, but it may be your job tomorrow. So you ask those important questions. You ask questions that sometimes have nothing to do with what you're doing, but you may need that information somewhere down the line. I have been up at 4 a.m. in the morning to oversee the drop so I could leave work at 2 o'clock to go to class for grad school. My managers, my leaders, they have all helped me get here. You need somebody, you need that help. There is nothing, I wouldn't be where I am today without them helping me and pushing me to get where I am today.
Rob, that's a tough story to follow, but let me, you're on the spot now, but talk a little bit, I mean, you've seen the casino here for 5 years. Talk about what you see for the future of economic growth and development in Maryland, and also, you know, how do you think the future looks in this area as whole? And I know you also spoke to me a little bit before that it's got to be, there's always a change because things are changing, the market's changed, the various legislation may change, and you've done things differently. You would have done things differently now than you did 5 years ago. Talk a little bit about how you see the future of casino operations and gaming in Maryland.
Well, I do agree that following Ashley's story is a tough one, and thanks for the very small question. I guess to take it into 3 parts, to talk a little bit about what we think the future of the economics in Maryland as it relates to the gaming industry. And that's a huge question in and of itself, but I'll just break it down into kind of 3 of the most critical parts. We could talk about trickle-down economics and all the other things that happen as a result, but if we just focus on some of the direct impacts from the casino industry and where it's heading, obviously, to me, it's jobs, it's taxes, and schools. Those would be the top 3 that I would put on as far as the economic benefits as we move forward. And we've talked a lot about jobs. There's 3,000 jobs here in this facility alone, and probably 5 times that in the state of Maryland that are directly employed in the casino industry. And if you look at the AGA's reports, that multiple is like 10 times when you get outside of the direct jobs within the casino industry itself. And for us, that's going to continue to go up. We have the development that's happening that you hopefully saw as you drove by, and we are anticipating that we'll be somewhere near 4,000 total employees that are working here at the facility when we're all said and done with the development there. In 2016, gaming became the top 10 providers of private sector employment in the state of Maryland. That's, I think, extraordinary considering we're talking about, in 2016, 5 casinos. When we go to taxes, Joe said everything that I need to say about taxes. I won't bore you with with all the numbers and recite the billions of dollars that have gone into the state of Maryland from taxes and what our personal contribution is. One thing that he didn't cover, though, is where things are going. And it's reasonable on the forecast that I've looked at that we will fall just shy of $1 billion a year that this industry is paying to the state of Maryland. Somewhere around $900 million will be paid out of the casino coffers into the state of Maryland. That mostly supports education, which brings me to my final point on that topic, which is schools. And I don't know how you can talk about economic future and economic development without talking about the future leaders of our state and the future leaders of our community. And the amount of money, the $1.4 billion that have gone to the state's education trust fund, and the great job that our educators are doing, I think sets us up incredibly well for the future. And Don, if I could steal just 2 more minutes to cover the rest of your question, what does it look like for us and the future here for Maryland Live in the state of Maryland? Well, I think there's 2 parts to that answer. One, we are committed to being here. As Joe said, this is a family-run company that lives right here in the state of Maryland. I've said it 1,000 times, and we're not going anywhere. We believe in Maryland. We believe in Hanover. We believe in this community. And we think that there is a long and prosperous future for us and the community as we move forward here. And as a result, we're investing heavily in our future. And we have plans beyond what you see that we'll be happy to talk about when that opens. So that it's not a one more trick and we're done. We've got a roadmap. But I think one of the most important parts, and I think Senator DeGrange touched on this, is as a business, as any other business in here, it's imperative for us to be able to make those commitments financially and to be able to make those commitments to our employees in the community, that we establish some stability from the legislative side. The legislative stability is a key factor in determining what the future looks like. And I believe if we have some stability for a period of time, that growth and that commitment and that reinvestment from our industry back into the state of Maryland is extraordinary.
You've heard a lot from our experts based upon some of the questions that I've posed to them. At this time, we'll open the floor for any questions that you may have of any one of them, or ask for multiple.